Hi everyone, welcome to Everyday, your daily stop for virtual reality content. I am D, and today we're going to be taking a look at Titans of Space. Titans of Space is sort of an educational experience. It has you fly through the solar system, look at the sizes of various planets and other celestial objects. And even though that sounds really boring, it's actually a really engaging experience, and it does a really good job in particular of exploiting the Rift's unique ability to determine, to make it that you can, when you're in the Rift, you're really good at determining how big things are relative to yourself and comparing them to things you've seen before in terms of size in a much better way than you can in a typical on-monitor video game. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the game. And here we go. Just going to get my Rift on. It starts out with a calibration. This is just so that it knows which way you're facing is toward your keyboard and mouse, so that you can use those controls if you want to. I'm going to get my headphones on because this game actually has some really cool sound. Some nice sound effects, some nice music. And now we're going to hit spacebar. Here we are at the main menu. Here are the credits. If you want to read any of this, you can pause and take a closer look. It lets us know how the controls work. It tells us to use headphones, which I am. This tour is inertia-free to protect you from excessive acceleration. I'm not entirely sure what they mean by that. I'm guessing what they mean is that they move along smooth curves with limited acceleration, and that eliminates the problem with you feeling like you're being jerked around. 4 ways to zoom during tour. Left control, space bar. All objects shown at 1/1,000,000th of actual size. So I think the reason they do that, as opposed to showing them at their actual size, is because I think humans are better at comparing the sizes of things that comparing things to things they see in real life on a daily basis, as opposed to really, really big things that they can't really understand the size of. Anyway, I believe we are ready to get started. Let's go to the solar system. Starting out at everybody's favorite planet. This is the Earth. This is where my house is, as you might know. Here's the moon. When I look at the moon, it looks about the size of a small boulder. Feels like I could fit it in my living room if I kind of squeezed it. Well, it wouldn't fit through the door, but if I took a wall out, I could roll it into my living room. The Earth is pretty big. It's about the size of a small house, I would say. And you can see on one side of the Earth here, it has the lights of the cities in the nighttime. Over on the day side, you can see the outlines of the continents and the oceans and the clouds. So that's all pretty cool. Now, the way these controls work, so in this game, or in this experience, you actually have an avatar. And if you look at that avatar, it's actually got a spacesuit on, and it's in this fixed pose. And if you hold your hands in the same pose, you can get this really strong sense that you are actually that person seated in this position. And so when I do this demo, I like to keep my hands in this position and not move them. And if I need to move forward, I just look at the blue arrow over there and it starts blinking. If I look for a few seconds, it will move on. So this is a miniature of Earth. It should appear to be 12.7 meters wide. Its actual diameter is shown above, 12,756 kilometers. So yeah, 12.7 meters. Seems about right. Size of a small house. Its actual diameter, yeah, distance from the Sun, 1 AU. That is the definition of an astronomical unit. Moon's volume, 0.02 Earths. That looks about right too. So that moon is quite small. So if that's 12.7 meters, then I guess the moon is 3.5 meters across. So yeah, it would fit. It would fit. Kind of fit in my living room. My living room, I guess, is maybe about 3 meters tall. So it would not quite fit. If I broke the ceiling, it would kind of almost fit. Anyway, let's go on to the next part. Also, the sun is really, really big. Like, wow. I have to look in every direction just to see the sun. Mercury. You're a little planet. You're much smaller than Earth. Diameter 4,878 kilometers. 0.38 AU from the sun. So, you are bigger than the moon. I can see that. But you are much smaller than the Earth. I think the sky is about the height of like a two-story house maybe. So yeah, about 5 meters. Jupiter over there is quite a bit larger. And the sun, as we see here, is really, really, really big. So let's go on from Mercury. This is the smallest planet in the solar system. See ya, Mercury. It's gotta get hot being that close to the sun. Here comes the next planet. Venus. Diameter 12,104 kilometers. So it's rendering it at a diameter of 12 meters. So yeah, when I look at this, it looks definitely as tall as a two to 3 story house. And if it rolled over an orphanage, it would kill a lot of orphans. That's all I'm saying. It's big. It is the hottest planet in the solar system. So Earth over there is Earth a little bit smaller than this, or is it about the same size? No, I think it's about the same size. Yeah. Maybe a little bit smaller. So yeah, Venus has that crazy atmosphere that traps all the heat in addition to being really close to the sun. We're gonna skip over Earth. Been there, done that. Had enough Earth already in my lifetime. And let's visit this guy over here. Mars. Mars, what's up? So Mars is quite a bit smaller than Earth. You can see when I go up to it, it looks like it's like it's like maybe the size of a small house, but or maybe more like the size of a car. Not a car, like a few cars put together. It's difficult to describe. It is so in this scale, it's about 7 meters across. Robotic rovers love this place. I bet they do. Bye, Mars. Bye, your inner planets. We're heading out here. Ceres. Oh my god, that's tiny. So you can see some of the little asteroids going by. I believe we are inside the asteroid belt. Yeah, there they go. Some of them are pretty big. This is Ceres, the largest asteroid. It's actually so big that it's turned round and become an official dwarf planet. We're sending a spacecraft there to take a closer look at it, and when I look at it, like, this looks like it's small enough that I could just wrap my arms around it and like hug it and carry it around. Although it would still be pretty big. I feel like I could also like put it in a big wagon and like carry it around behind me. Alright, let's go. Bye, Ceres. Asteroid belt. moving right through it. And on to Jupiter. Jupiter's really big. I really have to look all around to take in Jupiter. It's not as big as the Sun. The Sun's really, really big. Jupiter's still pretty big. Largest planet in the solar system. Has 67 plus moons. So, like, I was fairly certain Jupiter had at least, like, maybe 10 moons. But I did not think it had nearly that many. Like, we don't even know how many moons it has. That's a ridiculous number of moons. I think Earth must be getting moon envy, seeing all the moons this planet has. And over there are the 4 Galilean moons, which I presume are called such because Galileo discovered them with his telescope. There go some asteroids, going past Jupiter, towards the moons. Hey, Galilean moons of Jupiter. We're going to get to know each of you. Ganymede and Callisto. Callisto, most suitable place for human base near Jupiter. I'm not sure why that's true, but I believe you. Maybe it just has good, like, temperature conditions and stuff. Maybe it has water. I don't know. Ganymede. At 0.07 Earth's volume, this is the largest moon in the solar system, and larger than Mercury. So this is, yeah, it's bigger than Callisto for sure. It's bigger than our moon, and even bigger than Mercury. That's a pretty big moon. It's not as big as Earth. It's not nearly as big as Earth, but it's still a pretty big moon. Ganymede. That one's definitely the size of at least a few small cars. Or a few large cars. Now we're going around to take a look at the remaining 2 Galilean moons. Europa and Io. These guys are smaller. Io, most geologically active object in the solar system. 400 active volcanoes. That would not be very much fun to live on. Eruptions every day. Quite a bit smaller, closer to our moon size at this point. And Europa. Smooth surface made of water ice, possible ocean under the surface. Oh, it's like somebody took the North Pole and made a whole moon out of it. That's pretty cool. So yeah, there's lots of water out here. Here's Jupiter. Jupiter is ridiculously huge. It has storms that are like bigger than our entire planet. And here comes Saturn. Saturn is also a gas giant. It's got these rings. "62 known moons." I was not aware of that either. I cannot remember the names of any of Saturn's moons. Rings are 10 meters to 1 kilometer thick. So in this scale, I guess that would be like a millimeter thick. So they're pretty tiny. Made of water ice. I did not know Saturn's rings are made of water ice. I guess if you ever get thirsty in space, you can come over here and get a drink. Hexagonal storm at the North Pole. It's not a good view of the North Pole from here. Let's go ahead and continue. Are we gonna get to see some of its moons? Oh, there are some moons. Gonna go over there. Saturn is pretty big. There are some moons, which are much, much smaller. Oh, where are we going? Where are we? Oh my gosh, that's so tiny. It's itsy bitsy. So at this scale, it's like 3 centimeters across. It's really tiny. So that's Pan. It's walnut shaped, so apparently it's not even large enough to like become round. Orbits inside the Encke gap, which is this big hole in the rings. Pan's gravity sends ripples hundreds of kilometers into the ring. So yeah, this is the tiniest moon that I ever have seen. I presume we have only been able to find it at all because of how it interferes with the rings around it. Now it's time to go visit some bigger moons. You're a tiny little moon. It's like only like 3 pixels wide. I can barely even tell if something is there. Right, these guys. These look tiny. Like this guy on the right, Mimas, looks like the size of a basketball. No bigger than a basketball, certainly. And this looks like maybe the size of a volleyball. Not a volleyball, but like a large balloon if you blew it up. Or one of those big balls that you bounce around. Mimas, known for resembling the Death Star because of its large Herschel crater. Can't really see the crater from this angle, but okay. And Enceladus, very bright moon with volcanoes of ice at the South Pole and liquid water near the surface. Volcanoes of ice. I have trouble imagining exactly how that would work. Like ice coming up in an eruption out of a volcano. Okay. Well, let's continue. These guys look quite a bit larger. These are probably too big for me to put my arms around. Like, I think I would try, but I would not quite make it. And, I think I could still put them into a wagon or into, like, squeeze them into the back of my car and drive them around. So they're reasonably small, but they're not super, super tiny like those guys. Tethys, mostly made of water ice, like Mimas, also has giant impact crater. I think I see the giant impact crater on this one, if it's that one over there, or the one right in front of me. It's hard to tell. These spheres in this particular demo are not actually like bump mapped, so they look a little bit flat. If you like look near the edges tend to be smooth and round, even if there should be some terrain that's distorting them. And I think that's just a limitation of the rendering engine they're using here. Or maybe they just don't have bump map data. I don't know. Anyway, Dion. Bright wispy ice cliffs up to several kilometers high, formed by tectonics. This one's got some earthquake plates going on, making ice cliffs. There's a lot of ice going on in these moons. In fact, the rings are made of ice, the moons have lots of ice on them. I have a feeling Saturn, just like, there's a lot of ice in this area in general. Anyway, moving on to the larger moons. Whoa, that's getting bigger. So yeah, there's Rhea. Rhea looks a lot like Dion, except a little bit bigger. It's got those wispy ice cliffs, just like Dion. And then we have Titan. And Titan, like, makes all those other moons look tiny. Titan looks, like, bigger than our moon. It looks like it's the size of all the other moons combined. It is a big moon. It's a big moon. And the largest of Saturn's moons, only known moon with a substantial atmosphere. And it has liquid methane lakes. So apparently the atmosphere is enough to sustain the pressure to actually have liquid methane on the surface of Titan. Which is pretty cool, although not very good for bathing in. I think that blue glow around the edge is supposed to represent the atmosphere. It's probably a pretty thin atmosphere, but it's still pretty cool that it has one. Our moon doesn't have an atmosphere. I want to get one of those. Bye, Titan! So Titan is obviously dwarfed by Saturn itself. Saturn is enormous. It looks like it's the size of a small mountain. When we go around it, it's just like... it feels like it would take days to cross, walking across or all the way around that sphere. Oh, Uranus, here you are. Uranus is sideways. One of 2 ice giants has the coldest atmosphere in the solar system, tilted on its side. And distance from the Sun, 19 astronomical units, 19 times as far away as the Earth. volume 63 Earths and 27 known moons. Again, that's kind of funny that Uranus has 27 known moons and I can't think of any of them. Let's see if it'll take us to visit Uranus's moons. And no, we're not going to do any jokes about Uranus and moons. So apparently because it's sideways, its moons are also below it instead of off to the side. So we have some moons to explore here. Miranda is the smallest moon I've seen so far, other than that tiny one in Saturn's rings. This one looks like the size of like a large melon, or smaller, a little bit smaller than a basketball, maybe. It's pretty small. So that's Miranda. Lots of broken terrain. Apparently we don't know a lot about Uranus's moons, which makes sense. It's kind of far away. Ariel, lots of cut grooves, forming polygons. There's Ariel. This one looks big enough. Looks about the size of Ceres. About the size I could carry it around with me. And here we've got Umbriel, Titania, and Oberon. I think we're starting to use names from Shakespeare here. Or maybe they're all from Greek myth and Shakespeare also took them from there. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, Umbriel, the darkest Uranian moon. You can see its color is quite dark there. Titania, the largest Uranian moon, has large canyons. Yeah, you call that a large moon? You guys haven't been to Jupiter and Saturn. It's nothing. Nothing. And Oberon has a mountain 2.5 times the height of Mount Everest. For a tiny, tiny moon, that's very impressive. Alright, well, Uranus is above us. We're done with the moons here. I wonder what undiscovered moons of Uranus there are here. They're probably pretty tiny. See you later, Uranus. Uranus itself is pretty big. It's quite a bit larger than the Earth. Here comes Neptune. Neptune and Uranus are about the same size. They're slightly different shades of blue. Distance from the Sun, 30 astronomical units. So 30 times as far from the Sun as we are. Volume of 57 Earths. Looks the size of, again, a small mountain. 14 known moons. Very active weather with highest wind speeds in the solar system of up to 2,100 kilometers an hour. Okay, that's like a class 15 hurricane. I don't even want to imagine that kind of wind. What comes next? Are we going to see its moons? I think we are. I think I see a moon coming. Neptune. Show me the moon. Triton. Is this the only moon we're going to see here? Triton, Neptune's largest moon by far, captured by Neptune from the Kuiper belt as it migrated outward. Frozen nitrogen surface has nitrogen geysers. Yeah, so Triton is apparently so cold that its surface is made of solid nitrogen. We have trouble getting liquid nitrogen on Earth, and this is solid nitrogen. That's pretty damn cold. I think I would find that inhospitable, just a bit nippy. In terms of scale, this one, it's a bit too big to carry around. Kind of the same kind of large boulderish size that our own moon is. Bye, Triton. Bye, Neptune. Where are we going now? Oh, I think I know who these guys are. Dwarf planets. Pluto and its largest moon, Charon, orbit around each other. So you can actually see how when they're orbiting around each other, they're orbiting around their kind of mutual center of mass, which is I'm not sure if it's inside Pluto at all. I think it might be in the space between them. Charon looks quite tiny, kind of basketball-sized. Pluto a little bit larger. But they're both quite small. And then there's Eris, the recently named dwarf planet. At least Pluto has a friend. Eris doesn't have anybody to hang out with out here in the cold reaches of distant space. New Horizons probe getting first look at Pluto in 2015. I think I've heard that the best photos of Pluto we have today are with the Hubble telescope, which are still pretty bad. So hopefully we're going to get a better look at Pluto, get some nicer pictures for them to texture onto this sphere. Alright, onwards we go. Where do we go from Pluto? Whoa! We have just zoomed out. Going past all the planets. And here we are, back at our giant, enormous sun. Hey, sun. So yeah, the sun is big. The sun is really big. Like, all those planets, like the inner planets, look like they're just pebbles next to the sun's boulder. It is enormous. Volume 1.3 million Earths, age 4.57 billion years. That's a very old sun. Power output 100 billion H-bombs per second. It's a very, very, I'm glad it's several million miles away because I would not want to get too close to that. That might be dangerous to my health. Where are we going from here? Okay, that's very large. Pollux, orange giant in constellation Gemini. They found us a bigger sun. That makes our own sun look pretty small. That's a big sun. Its diameter is like not quite 5-6 times bigger. It's pretty big. Volume 2,854 suns. Power output 43 suns. So it's putting out a ton of energy. I'm glad I don't live close to that. I would get very hot. So there goes the sun. Pollux is very big. Oh my gosh. It's totally filling my field of vision here. There's the sun sitting down at its like a little kid sitting next to an adult. It's just so much bigger. Pollux is confirmed to have a planet orbiting it. That planet is 2.3 times the size of Jupiter. I guess when you are a big star, you get bigger planets to go along with it. Where are we going from here? Oh boy, an even bigger sun. This is Rigel. Rigel is big. Apparently it's making my vision all fuzzy. I don't know if that's representing like radio interference or something. Maybe it's putting out a lot of radio IR. Rigel. Blue-white supergiant. Brightest star in constellation Orion. So yeah, over there is Pollux. And this is Rigel. This is like 8-9 times bigger. It's another order of magnitude larger than Pollux. It's really, really big. Like, I feel like if I had to get down on the surface of Rigel and hike all the way around it, it would take me at least several hours, just based on its apparent size here in front of me. Power output, 126,000 suns. Where could they go after this? Oh my god. That's really, really, really big. That's like the size of a large mountain. That's like it's making that giant sun look like a small sun. It's a very, very big sun. This is Vicanus Majoris, red hypergiant, largest known star in our galaxy, with a volume of 12 billion suns. So yeah, that little yellow dot over there, just make 12 billion of them, and we could fill this sphere up. Power output, 270,000 suns, and its age, 10 million years. So apparently suns get smaller as they get older, because this guy is pretty young. Distance from the sun, 4,000 light years roundabout. Vicanus Majoris is nearing the end of its life, and is expected to explode in the next 100,000 years, leaving behind a black hole. Well, that sun had a short life. I mean, compared to our sun. And it's going to leave behind a terrifying black hole, so it's got that going for it. That's a retirement plan. Wow. You're a very, very big sun. Oh god, we're going into the big sun. No! Come back, our little yellow sun! Oh god. Wow, I'm so close to it now. It's like the surface looks flat, and it's like there's a horizon. It's like being at the docks and looking out at the ocean. I feel like it would really take me days and days to get all the way around this giant sphere. It's so big. There's Rigel. And Pollux. And our sun. Like, even when we view it with our sun being the closest one, it still looks like that sun out there is much, much larger. Wow. So yeah, our sun is not the biggest sun around, that is for sure. That one's going away. That one's going away. And our sun is cozying up to Vicanus Majoris. Wow. Okay, so apparently when our sun sits on Vicanus Majoris, it's like it's like just a house sitting on the surface of a planet. It is tiny. That is so big. So very big. Have I mentioned its largeness so far? Okay. We're just gonna go ahead and continue. What are they gonna do now? They can't find anything bigger than this. This is already very, very big. Hey sun. Back with my little sun. Meanwhile, this giant sun is like so big it's just become a background. Quote, "The universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, it seems like an awful waste of space." Carl Sagan. Big would be the main word that I have been using here. Big is definitely what we're looking at. This is big. Whoa, what's happening? Solar system distances are expanding. Sun! Sun, come back! $100 million kilometers. And here we are. 149 million kilometers. One astronomical unit. There's the Earth. In the distance is the Sun. At this point, the Sun to me looks like it's like 4 pixels wide, maybe. we are really far away from the sun. Over there is the moon. The moon is just a tiny thing orbiting around the Earth. It's kind of funny just how little of the sky the Earth and the moon take up, because they look big, but really they're like just a few angular degrees of your vision. There goes the moon. The moon is like almost invisible at the resolution of the rift. You guys might be able to see it a little bit better. I'm only looking at this in like 500 by 500 active pixel area, so it looks a little bigger when it's closer though. Hey moon! What's up moon? Okay, bye moon. Alright. At this point, solar system distances are now to scale. Where do we go next? Whoa, we're going out of the solar plane. And these are the actual orbits of the planets, with distances to scale. The distances are so much larger than the actual size of the planets. We can barely even see the sun in the middle. It's like 1 pixel in size. It's like flickering a little bit when I move around. That's about it. And we know the sun is way bigger than all those other things, so there's no chance we would be able to see any of them. Also, like, the inner planets' orbits, like, they're all right in front of me. They all just fit in my vision. But as I start to move outwards, like, the orbit of, like, Neptune is like, I have to move my head all around to follow the orbit of Neptune as far as I can. I can barely even see the orbit of Pluto, which is all to one side. Alright. Here is Pollux, placed at the center of our solar system. I can actually see that. It's a few pixels in size. No harm done, except all life would burn up and planetary orbits would be sent into chaos. Worse things have happened. I can handle a little extinction of all life. So yeah, apparently just replacing the sun with a somewhat larger sun, even when it's that tiny, can make a big difference. What comes next? That is a much larger sun. Here's Rigel. If it were placed at the center of our solar system, it would immediately engulf Mercury, and with a mass of 18 suns, would quickly draw all planets into the star. That includes you, Neptune. So yeah, apparently even with the distances being that large, a sun that big would just screw up everything. It would also eat Mercury right away. So there's that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, this sun, we're not gonna be using this sun. This sun is not even an option. If Canis Majoris were placed at the center of our solar system, the star would likely reach as far as Saturn. Yeah, so I don't think the Earth would do very well with the whole being engulfed by a giant, hyper-giant sun. I vote that we not do this. I don't think even Neptune would be very happy about this. Autopilot offline, loss of control, wax melted, it's full of stars? Oh dear. What's happening? What's happening? Oh god. Oh god. Ah! And that's the end of the tour. Thanks for playing Titans of Space. Hope you enjoyed your tour. All objects were shown at 1/1,000,000th of actual size. So yeah, that's the end of the tour. And I think the cool thing about Titans of Space, I mentioned how it really takes advantage of the Rift's kind of innate ability to help you judge the size and scale of the objects that are in front of you. Um, and it kind of applies that to the most basic objects it can, which are just spheres. And it turns out to be really effective. But beyond that, I think it, first of all, it shows really compellingly some of the educational applications of the Rift and how you can bring students to places where they would never be able to go in real life remotely affordably. And show them things, for example, juxtaposing, say the Earth and its moon that close together that you can compare their sizes. You can't even do that in real life. And there are all sorts of other educational situations where being able to have somebody sit in front of something and judge its size and compare it to the things around it and compare it to their own size gives a much more visceral and direct impression of what that thing is really like. And that can be applied to places on Earth, to historical cities and landmarks. It can be applied to extinct creatures and creatures like you could imagine, like even modern animals, being able to get up close and personal with them as they're doing things, and even abstract concepts. Like you can imagine having physical representations of things like numbers, variables, and software and things like that, and being able to represent those things in a way that can give people a visceral, direct physical understanding of what they're like, which you could never really do before you had something that lets you dive into it and feel like you're there. In addition to that, I think Titans of Space just is a really compelling experience. Like, even if you don't care about planets and stuff, I think you would still really enjoy this experience because it has this soothing music, and they make everything emotional with these sudden transitions and the way you dive close to the surface of these enormous, enormous suns, and just the sense of surprise and impact that you get from that choreography is really compelling. And I think that if people applied that same kind of sense of drama to a lot of other educational subjects, that they can really make it more compelling for students, as well as for anyone else who wants to learn about them. So that's Titans of Space. I believe Titans of Space also has a single screen mode, although I really think it's a lot more compelling when it's viewed with the Rift. So if you get your hands on a Rift even for a little while, this is definitely one of the demos you want to try. It's very easy to go through. Like, as you saw, we didn't really need any controls except to look at a button every once in a while. We were still able to proceed at our own pace, so that makes it a very useful demo for people who are new to the platform. And with that, I'm signing off. Everybody have a great every day.